We're going to talk about the cost of saying no. In any good conversation where you're asking somebody to buy something with cash, it's so critical that they not only understand the cost of saying yes, but they understand the cost of saying no. So, if you've heard my story before, the reason why I pride myself on communication is because I was not born a good communicator at all. I was born a shy, introverted, middle child of 8 kids. So for me, whenever I learn a way to have advantage in the business and communication and sales world, I'm all about it. So I love the brain, I love neuroscience, and I love chiropractic. And I realized it's not that I wasn't a good communicator, it's that I didn't have something good to say. And now I do, and I'm very convicted of it, as I know you probably are. In fact, comment below and let me know how many kids are in your family, because I told my wife, I'm gonna do a book someday on the importance of birth order. I've got 3 kids, and I believe that birth order plays a huge part in who you are and what you're capable of. In fact, if you have any good book recommendations on birth order, also include those in the comments. I'm a geek for reading this stuff because I just feel like as a middle child, I was always looking to gain attention. So I would sit quietly and just observe. I wouldn't want to press my viewpoints on anybody. I wouldn't want to make anybody get their attention on me. I wanted to just stay under the radar. So it's ironic that now I speak for a living, and I love getting on stages in front of a lot of people. Part of that is because I'd rather talk to 1,000 people than one, because that one person can reject me. You follow what I'm saying? I know you're out there. I know you understand this. And I know I'm not the only one. And so here I sit talking about sales and communication and money. So I don't claim to have it all figured out. Here's what I do know. Passionate about chiropractic, and more people need it. What I have found through coaching and mentoring thousands of chiropractors is that when it comes to asking people for money and to pay out of pocket outside of their insurance, they just think that because they're a doctor, people will follow them. Because they have a solution, people will follow them. Because they have a license, people will follow them. That's not the case, and you know that. So what I want to remind you of in this video is that your prospects must understand the cost of saying no as much, if not more, than they understand the cost of saying yes. When you present your care plan and your finances, they know what it costs. You just told them what it's going to cost, the time and the money. But the likelihood of them paying you cash is extremely low if they don't comprehend and understand what it costs if they say no. This is just as much of a scientific question as it is a philosophical or communication question. I want you to just to look at this picture right here. When you see that, that's a picture taken from research of small, medium, and large adhesions in a joint. As a chiropractor, you create more mobility in a joint. When you do that, you break up the scar tissue and adhesions that have formed. If those adhesions form and continue to form from small, medium to large, it actually decreases more mobility. When that happens, it actually reduces the imbibition in the disc. Remember that term? Imbibition? I remember that from first trimester when I took a class called Spine and Pelvis in chiropractic college. And that is simply this, that disc must have movement in order for it to be healthy. Well, when that scar tissue builds up, that imbibition goes down, the neurology within that disc is heightened to stress, and it actually starts to dehydrate. When that cascade occurs, that spinal segment is on a road and a trajectory to degenerate. That scar tissue, if it's not broken up through mobilization, it will then lead to both physiological and neurological degeneration within that segment. And this is the cost of them saying no. Now, what does that look like in their life? Well, if they wanted to be 50 or 55 or 75 and golfing and gardening and traveling to see their kids and doing different hobbies, the likelihood of that happening goes down as that mobility gets worse. The cost of them saying no to your care is actually much more than the cost of them saying yes. And we can prove that physiologically, but the real question is that here for you? Do you understand it? The greatest practices have an ability to create that perceived value before the patient gets the actual value. In a service-based environment which you're in, you have to be able to get that prospect to understand the value and have a perception of that value in order for them to pay you. So, are you able to communicate effectively so that every prospect understands the cost of saying no just as much, if not more, than they understand the cost of saying yes? By the way, this strategy and tactic is not only for chiropractic. The greatest communicators and salespeople on the face of the planet understand that they have to get their clients, prospects, or leads to understand the cost of saying no in order for them to pay. And what I love about this is you can feel good about this. This isn't salesy or slimy or trying to get them to believe something that's not true or some sort of scare tactic that you heard somebody from a stage said don't use. That's hogwash. This is real, physiological, research-backed proof that allows them to make a decision and allows you to feel good about the prices that you charge. So I'll leave you with this. There's one unique and scientific method of communicating the cost of saying no in an easy to understand format that separates the great communicators from the good. And we will talk about that on another video. In the meantime, make sure your prospects understand the cost of saying no. And if you have a book recommendation on birth order, drop it in the comments. If you have a question, I have an answer, or at least I'll find one for you. We'll see you on the next one. Dr. Dan, I'm out.